Hello there. Thank you so much for agreeing to meet with us once again and answer the questions of our viewers.
Praise the forces.
I would like to start our conversation not with a question, as usual, but with an observation. I have carefully read all the comments under your previous interviews and noticed a number of features. Also, the information that you tell makes many people take an active position in their lives. For example, after the last program about reincarnation, many people began to write that this information prompted them to start acting in terms of improving themselves, lifestyle, thinking, so as not to cause grief and troubles to their relatives either during life or, God forbid, after death. And, of course, to enter the portal of your soul. And even though many of them don't know how to do it yet, they are determined to find these ways. And the second, fortunately, there were few such people. They seem to see only an obstacle because of this information and have become not exactly passive, but some have gone into a negative position, into a deep minus, so to speak. And this information, well, I'm even going to read out a few comments now. So, some wrote in the comments, how to live with this information now. Why do I know this? It is impossible to control the thought, so I will die and suffer after death. And one comment in general with some diabolical logic, and the person voicing it, well, it's just absurd. He made the following conclusion after your words. It is better to cease to exist as soon as possible in order to collect less sins for life and then pay less for them after death.
I wonder what those who write this listen to. Maybe you should listen to what I'm saying again. Just take a closer look. I even have a question for this person. What sins have you decided to avoid in this way? What do you think suicide is? How are you going to commit suicide and hope at all that you will suffer less? Let's think logically. A person usually decides to commit suicide not from a good life, right? A lot of problems pile up, a person falls into despondency, apathy, he experiences unbearable suffering, sees no way out of this vicious circle. Therefore, in order to stop the torment, he decides to cease to exist. And then suicide is regarded as an opportunity to escape from these very sufferings. Well, this logic is fundamentally wrong. Suicide cannot stop suffering. In general, nothing can be stopped in this way. At least because a person is not able to independently cease to exist. And after what you call death, you don't die completely. It is not people who control this process. It is not man who has given himself existence in this world, and it is not for him to destroy himself. There is only one who can control life and death. And it is he who distributes life or death according to a person's choice. Therefore, suicide is just the opposite. This is the case when I wanted to get rid of suffering, but got the jackpot and in the end stayed with them forever. I would like to see this moment when a suicide after death realizes the irony of his situation. I repeat once again, a person after death receives the state that he chose during his lifetime. So if you're a winner, then you're not going anywhere from your whining. It can and will definitely get worse, but it will never get better. You've already given up the opportunity to change anything. And there can be no question of any rest after death or just a dream here. You've put so much effort and attention into your suffering. You spent all your time and all your strength on them. Otherwise, you wouldn't have reached the extreme point, so everything was fine with you. You have rocked yourself to destructive emotions as much as possible. You have reached the apogee, reached the maximum of self-love, despondency and laziness. I decided that there were only goats around and you were all so good. It's just that all the injustice of the world has boiled down on your head that you felt entitled to kill yourself. So you've elevated yourself so much that you've decided that you have the right to take a life. Yes, it's kind of like your life, but it doesn't change the essence of things. It's still murder. And you still think that after death you will find peace. It won't happen. You will take with you absolutely everything that you have been so hard to cherish inside yourself, even if it was unbearable suffering. This is your conscious choice. So don't whine now. So, if a person really wants to get away from suffering, it is better to do it during life, because after death there will no longer be such an opportunity. It's just that there will no longer be the vitality to change anything. And remember, if you committed suicide out of despondency, then your whining, all your suffering and torment will remain with you forever. Therefore, if thoughts of suicide arise, if you decide that you don't need life, then it's better to dedicate it to people. Otherwise, with the same decadent state, you will go to death.
This is an interesting conclusion. I have also come across information that the most effective way to help yourself is to help other people. Well, in principle, it is clear how it works. When a person switches his attention to helping other people, then he stops thinking about his problems, stewing in them.
Plus, you need to know and understand that suicide is not always a decision of the person himself. There are those in our structures who benefit from pushing people to commit suicide. It's just that people are used to living and not seeing many things. That's how you think there are so many cases when people who have everything wonderful in life, they raise children, make plans, and then suddenly commit suicide. What is it? A fleeting impulse that a person could not cope with? Has your mood plummeted to the point of killing yourself? Or cases when an absolutely adequate mother takes her child in her arms and walks with him out the window? Or pushes his children onto the tracks under a subway train? What is the reason for such actions? And these are just a few examples. I'm not even talking about car accidents that happen under strange circumstances. And there are plenty of such examples. In fact, many seemingly inexplicable cases of suicide are explained very easily. There are just those who take your lives with your own hands. Let's also remember that, in fact, absolutely everyone has an instinct for self-preservation. The most powerful basic instinct, which is literally sewn into our subcortex and which is not so easy to cross. So if you have thoughts of suicide, then there is a reason to think about why this is happening. By the way, you can even independently verify that suicides are provoked intentionally. Just watch the wave of suicides shift. Now there is such a situation in the world that many people are forced to leave their territories. These are climate refugees, as well as wars that force people to leave their homes. So, look, when such a large mass migration of people begins, how the waves of suicides shift along with them. Moreover, a sharp jump in suicides occurs just in safe territories. Not where there is a disaster and people are in difficult conditions, but on the contrary, in the host countries, where, it would seem, everything should be fine. Do you know why this is happening? Because along with these refugees, those who actually push people to commit suicide also have to move. And this does not mean that it will be some kind of brutal mujahid. No, it can be a pretty girl, a beautiful old lady, respected by everyone. Maybe a selfless volunteer who helps everyone. Yes, in fact, very evil creatures are sitting in them, and this is already. These are already in humans.
So isn't it more logical for these creatures to stay where there is more human suffering and where people are dying en masse?
No. Not for these. Firstly, it is not a fact that something will fall to them, because in territories where disasters or wars occur, when people die from some external factor, well, or when they are killed, then other laws apply in this case. And secondly, places where there is absolutely trash, it is usually more difficult to break through to a person. People are focused on something else, on survival. And they pray to hell.
This really explains a lot and sounds much more convincing than some psychological approaches that try to explain these cases of sudden suicides. And indeed, thoughts of suicide do not come every day. And it means that there is something that triggers them when this protection of a person weakens.
Just despondency and all these decadent moods are those states that open a person to various demons. It is not for nothing that your religions say that despondency is a sinful state. Because despondency is essentially self-love. This is a manifestation of the younger demon in a person, and when a person commits suicide, he is fed to please the elder demon. People need to remember one simple thing. If you are discouraged, you are already amazed and you are already being taken. You are already a slave of your demons, and you will remain in their slavery forever. Even after death.
Interestingly, despondency is already a sign that you are amazed.
In fact, only a few understand that it is necessary to row in the other direction. Peace is a struggle, you have to fight for life. You are wasting yourself on your desires, giving up without even fighting. Do you think you came here to enjoy life? No, you came to fight. And if you forgot about it and just live, enjoy life, then after death you will have one option. Become a Kepha under the feet of the worthy. This is a war, and whoever wins will survive. But people are fighting in the wrong direction now. I sent them the wrong way. I looked away from the real enemy of the man who is hiding inside. And now people are confronting each other externally, starting from their own families and ending with global world wars. Have you noticed in general that wars occur with a certain frequency and regularity? I mean major, large-scale wars. At least once in a century, a war necessarily occurs, which becomes a significant event in history and, like a funnel, attracts people's attention to this day. Look at each century, you will find such events. Why is this happening? And who benefits from it? Is it only economic and geopolitical reasons that cause wars? No. Large-scale wars are fueling the elder demon. I'm not talking about the devil right now, so, wars are a kind of recharge for him. How we charge our phone, for example. We need to do this regularly. So it is here. Why do those in power suddenly come up with combinations of how to solve some of their own issues with the help of war? It seems yes, economy, money. But in fact, they were just given a command. The elder imp gave the command. I mean the elders in the hierarchy. And the most interesting thing is that the power of the demon does not depend on any external anthropometric factors. A person can be physically strong and hardy, but he has a weak demon. And then he will grovel before other people with stronger inner demons. Therefore, the elder demon may even be a sweet girl, sitting far from the authorities, but in fact feeding the whole system. For example, it may contain the reincarnation of some general who put millions of people in his lifetime and is now striving for it again. Of course, this is a very strong demon. Here he can influence his subordinate demons in the heads of others. And they can give the command to kill millions. As a result, the system eats people's life forces through this girl, and the general gets it. He feels better at this time than he would have been sunbathing with his homies in Valgale. Therefore, those who start wars are just puppets. They don't make the decisions. They have no real power. And I have a question with such a character. Have you ever thought about who you will be tomorrow? Where will you be tomorrow? If you have thoughts of starting a war, did you think you were buying 2 minutes of glory and a century of torment? What are you changing for what? Now you are in an illusion. In the illusion of self-importance. But very soon you will face reality. It seems to you as if you have the power to control the destinies. It's like you. It's like you have this power. People will never have power. In this world, only Satan has power. If you think you have power over someone, then just the opposite. It is you who are in full, 100% power of the devil.
You mentioned that people fight among themselves even in families. Can you explain what you meant? Is it really the same mechanism that underlies family military conflicts alone? And where is the manipulation of demons here?
Yes, the situation repeats itself at both macro and micro levels. Even in families, there is constant friction between people. I emphasize your attention, constantly, every day, even in small things, people swear. Constantly someone is trying to dominate someone and exercise their power over others. There is always a tyrant who gets everyone. Does he really want that? No. He's just being manipulated by a demon. It is the demons who create the conditions for people to constantly conflict. That's why all this is happening. Both in micro and macro scales. The essence is the same. I am amazed at how stupid people are and do not see the elementary. They don't even see who makes them stupid. Okay, let's go this way. I will ask a number of leading questions, and you at least try to think about it. Maybe you'll finally understand something. Let's look at the example of relationships between people. Well, let's say you had a conflict with someone from your family. As it seems to you, for objective reasons, because he offended you somehow, didn't do something or did it, but not the way you wanted, and so on. Just accumulated a number of claims. You are suddenly overcome by emotions, you start yelling at a person. But at the same moment you realize that you don't want to scream, that you want to stop, but you can't. Why? Why do you cause suffering to the closest people? Are you doing this on purpose? So are you some kind of masochist? No. And then why is it that you forget that you kind of love a person and yell at him with hatred? Why in some situations you can't stop in rage and anger, and in others, where you really need to fight back, protect yourself or someone else, then you can't even open your mouth? Who stops you or on the contrary forces you to do what you don't want? Who pushes people to do things for which they then repent until the end of their days? Why do the same inherently conflict situations occur all over the planet with different people, with completely different characters and living conditions? What is it? One program for everyone. And who implements it? Who benefits from pushing people with their foreheads, both at the family level and at the global level, arranging wars? These are the questions you should be asking yourself, not me. And even more so, you should not look for answers from people like me. But since you've decided to listen to me, I'll tell you, these are all demons. It is advantageous for them to push people against each other. It is beneficial for them to provoke conflicts. Try to remember when was the last time you had a day without quarrels and arguments. So that you wouldn't get angry, wouldn't swear with anyone, even in your head. And you won't remember. Because demons begin to guide you from a young age. And they are hiding inside you, in your own mind, in your thoughts. The younger demon manifests itself through everything base, primitive in man. Eat, sleep, reproduce, and, of course, dominate us all. This is your pride, alpha significance. A monkey, in a word. And the elder demon is, let's say, already higher functions of consciousness. Logic, analytical rational thinking, intelligence, which many are so proud of. And both demons pretend to be you. Usually people associate themselves with one of these demons in their daily lives. First one, then the second one attracts your attention and starts talking in your head, like me. I want to. I'll do it. I think so. Sometimes they form a coalition, and then they say we. And when the time comes to screw you up or to kill you, then the word in you appears. That's what you messed up, or well, you're an idiot. Yes, you will never succeed. Or you're not capable of anything. Familiar wording, right? Who's talking to who there? Why do you suffer from your own thoughts? Why can't you make yourself happy right now? Yes, at least one positive thought that will just cheer you up. Have you asked her the manipulation of demons is? And here she is. No one humiliates and insults a person so much, no one oppresses a person so much as his own demons. Do you live the way you want to live? No. And why? And I'll tell you why. Because you're a slave. And you are all slaves, slaves of their demons.
It turns out that the manipulation mechanism is the same. And the most important question, where is the real me in all this? But the power of demons cannot be total over a person, otherwise none of this would make any sense at all.
Of course, their power is not total. And that's exactly the point of getting out from under their power. You can even put demons at your service. But there are things that greatly contribute to their power over a person not to weaken. For example, alcohol and drugs. Why, for example, cannot drink alcohol? After all, real occultists, magicians do not take alcohol at all. Because they know what it is and how alcohol works. Just one glass of beer or a glass of champagne, and you will be a slave to the devil for a month, completely under his control. And all this month you will have no freedom, no creativity, nothing. By creativity, I mean when a person creates something, engages in activities where fresh concepts, ideas are needed and where data needs to be summarized. Many inventors have come to this from their own experience. For example, Landau, a Nobel laureate in physics. So he wrote that he stopped drinking alcohol when he noticed that after he drank even one glass of champagne, then, for a whole month. For a whole month, not a single creative idea came to his mind. And so it's one glass. Can you imagine what happens to alcoholics or drug addicts? An alcoholic is 100% slaves of his demon. There is no safe dose of alcohol consumption. That alcohol and drugs have the same effect on a person at the energy level. And now count how often you use and you will understand for yourself what are your chances of escaping from the power of demons. And what it will lead to in the end. That's the reality. Therefore, a real magician will never come close to alcohol and will not take a drop. Especially to drugs. And Holy Communion. In the church, remember. What do you think, whose hands are these tricks? Did Jesus Christ give anyone wine to drink? What was described, what he gave to his students, was not wine, but the juice of the first imagination, which improved digestion. It did not contain alcohol. And look at the modern fathers. Wine gushes buckets, and not just wine, and calls himself the Holy Fathers. Funny. I'll tell you this, today the priests of all religions are essentially publicans, tax collectors. And they perform only one role, they collect tribute from you for the elder demon. And they are as far from God as any sinner. If in doubt, look at what signs they surround themselves with. Look at their actions, at this theater, the show they are playing for you. Look at what they are fighting for in this life. Are they fighting for your souls? No. They fight among themselves for your pockets. It seems that they want power over you and money for themselves in this life. But in fact, it's the demons who force them to take your lives and make slaves of you. And the most important thing is that the priests are not even recruiting you into slavery for themselves, but for demons. Because they are slaves themselves. Because they are just publicans. Yes, some magicians are much closer to God than those whom you call holy fathers. Because at least magicians don't lie. They are honest. They know what changes what. Do you know the difference between a priest and a magician? Priests of any religion are just slaves of small demons. Everyone is selfish, arrogant. All they do is show off. They are simply taken away by small demons. And the magicians, real magicians, they know the world. They know how it works, they know it for what it is. The priests have no idea what their prophets have told them. Everyone forgot. And they do not understand anything, do not realize and do not see. They are in the system. They are just publicans who collect tribute from those suckers who come to them and take their lives. They give false hopes to people, and in fact lead them to hell. And didn't Jesus Christ talk about this? That the blind will lead the sighted? Didn't the Prophet Muhammad talk about it, warn you about it? Everyone was talking. People just don't listen. And why? Because their ears are closed by the same demon, pride closes them. Supposedly they are smart and know everything. But in fact, none of them knows anything if they are all walking under a demon. And it's true. Think for yourself, how can someone who is obviously dead fight for someone's life? How can a slave fight for someone's freedom? How can he show you the way if he himself has never known it? All that your priests can do is push away and pretend to be those who they are not. They teach you things they don't know themselves. And I'm telling you the truth. And you feel it now. That's the power.
Yeah. Now it is clear what underlies the hierarchy in our world. This is the hierarchy of Ulbas.
It depends on which demon controls you. If you are a slave of a stronger one, you will be higher in the human hierarchy. But in this case, you will spoil the lives of a lot more people. And since you are a slave, they take everything from you, and in return they give you only the illusion that you have achieved something in life. People are mistaken and struggle for hierarchy and power only because they do not realize that human life is as short as a flash. It passes instantly. It is impossible to enter into those people who really live according to the precepts of the prophets, who really strive for God, are filled with the Spirit. And if a person has pride, despondency, a desire for dominance, for power, then this is the gate that is wide open for people like me. Or worse. You came here to enjoy my life. You came here to fight. And you're wasting your life on what? For selfishness, on self-love? You give up without fighting and go after the dead, just like yourself. Why are you running for money? Want the best new car? Although your old one is still good, too, but no, it should be better. Just to make the neighbor jealous. But because you envy him yourself. And why? To hate and to be hated by you. Well, just know that if you are jealous, then hatred is your life that is being wasted. Why did your prophet Jesus Christ bequeath to love and not hold hatred against anyone? After all, he said that anyone who hates his brother is a murderer. And you know that no homicide has eternal life. And the Prophet Muhammad said, beware of hatred and malice. If you hate someone, remember, you are a slave of Satan. And here what is the point just? That's the point of Zareth. If you hate someone, at that time you give your life. You're trading your life for hate. You live where there is no God. When there is hatred in you, there is no God in you and there is no spirit in you, that divine spirit that pacifies the demon. If you think first of all about yourself, and not about others, then you are in control. If you don't care about others, about society, then you are a slave. Literally a slave. Because a normal person, a free person, will first of all think about the whole society, about humanity, about his relatives and friends. And only last of all about yourself. And you have everything turned upside down. Who lives like this, tell me? Nobody. So I can log into anyone. In the literal sense of the word. I have no barriers. And the entrance to a person is precisely that he is a slave of a demon. And the demon demands more and more from him. And a person constantly gives him his life force. And if he gives, then he creates problems for others. If he is a slave of consciousness, then he is also my slave. When a person constantly demands something from the world, he is an egoist. Then his gates are open to the side on himself. And all sorts of devilry goes in there. Demons. And any occultist can hook such a person on his hook. Unless someone stronger is already sitting there. If you are only used to taking, consider that life is only for you, then the devil tells you. Because it's you for him. Hence the uncontrollable greed, and envy, and all your rot. When you are controlled by a demon, how can you change? No, of course not. And he won't let go without you. Because your life is his life, not yours. You gave it to him yourself. Because he desired earthly things. I was seduced and got it. He wanted glory and became a Kepha under the feet of the worthy. And if a person's gates are open not to the inside, but to the outside, if he gives to people, lives for people, then no one can go there, since a constant stream of fire is coming from these gates. In fact, even the strongest devils, they are much more vulnerable to an ordinary night moth. And for them, any fire is deadly. And when the gates are open to the inside and a person pulls everything on himself, then not only night moths fly in there, well, pterodactyls, and all the devilry can freely enter. You let yourself in, because you yourself strive for it, you yourself give yourself into the power of Satan and his demons. And then they are dissatisfied with God. Do you dare to make any claims to him? He has already given you everything. He gave you the freedom of choice. You have the right to choose who to serve and how to live. Originally born, to become dead in life without having seen. To be enslaved by demons. Or in the freedom to serve God. The third is not given. People need to understand that there is only black and white. If you have selfishness in you and you need it most of all, you are a Rabiza. And it doesn't matter what places you visit, what kind of theatrical performances you arrange together with the priests, this is all theater for fools. You have been to supposedly holy places, you have performed the Hajj or you have visited the grave of Jesus Christ. This is all ridiculous for the demons, because it will not get rid of their power in any way.
By the way, I just remembered, people in the comments asked a question about the saints. If all the dead steal the life force, then what about the saints? After all, we are praying, and they are dead.
Here you need to distinguish. There are actually only a few real saints. And they will definitely not be promoted by your priests. And here are just all those saints to whom you pray, whose images have been preserved painted, performing miracles. Starting with Peter and Paul and ending with contemporaries who were canonized by your fathers and who are now being sold to you as saints. They, being stones at the portal, are now slaves to the devil themselves and are pulling you into slavery. And these publicans are their servants, their representatives. They rely on them, they collect tribute from you. And those whom you consider holy, just give everything to the elder demon. Because, even being a stone there, in order to rise higher in this hierarchy of stones, so that others do not put so much pressure on them, they have to pay them more. And they will do everything to collect more tribute. Know that. The more famous the saint is, the more people he has healed, the more he has helped financially in solving your earthly problems, the higher he is in this hierarchy of stones and the closer he is to Satan. Are you giving your life to him, asking for material things? Do you go out to the saints for the salvation of the soul? No. And will these saints help to come to God, if they themselves only realized after death that God really exists? And that hell really exists? Only they realized it late, when they had already become stones. And now all they can do is watch others enter the soul portal. But they will never be able to do it again. Know that when you pray to such saints, come and ask for material things, after death you will be under them. Down in this masonry of stones. You will even be under the priests who taught you to pray to them. Why did your prophets say about images, don't create an idol for yourself? It was said that there is no one between God and man. That there are no intermediaries and there cannot be. And that it is only through love that one can come to God, and not through theatrical actions, bows and bends. What difference does it make who you bow to? And who bows in you? Without. All these rituals are all magic, productions. Moreover, it's bullshit magic, not real magic. In general, all rituals are performed only in order for the magician to tune in, concentrate. And that's what lower magicians do. Who else needs it? And the higher magicians who know how everything works, they don't run around with a tambourine and don't wave a censer, they control the process. After all, you are in order to start your car, sit down and go from home to the store. You don't run in front of a car with a tambourine, do you? And you change clothes 300 times. Did not wave, do not bow to him, you just sat down and drove. Because it's just a tool. So magic for the occultist is a tool.
Listen, well, I can't help but ask you, why are you telling us all this? Why do you help people?
What makes you think I'm helping? I'm just talking about the world as it is. You have to find out where you will be at the end of time. The harvest time has come, and the reaper is already on your doorstep. So I can talk about it openly. It's just that you are so blind and fooled by your scientists, your politicians, your priests, that you don't see the elementary. You can't see beyond your nose. Smart people have been seeing and understanding what's going on for a long time. This is why I speak openly. Because you can't change anything anyway. You can't change yourself, even if you know the truth. Because you are slaves. Am I telling you something new? You have always been told about this, from time immemorial. And you knew it. As humanity knew. They just didn't want to hear it. And they didn't want to believe it. And so, like the devil, like demons, they also tell the truth. Everything is as usual. Don't you feel before you commit something sinful? Don't you understand what you're doing? You see. Don't you feel like you're doing something bad? You feel, but you do. It's yours. An informed choice. Without just whispers, prompts. He doesn't have the ability to force you to do something if you don't want to. Are you caught on your selfishness? When you strive to find something for yourself in the material world. And you're paying for it. You knowingly exchanged eternal life for the existence of a stone at the portal. You are the very stones on the bridge that is built from death to life. Only you are not walking on it, because you are already stones in this bridge. You can see the living walking on this bridge, but you can't even move yourself. Because the time when you could move and do something, you exchanged for illusion, pride, whining and inaction. It's logical. And it is. Therefore, everything is very honest. Who aspired to what, who wanted what, got it. There is nothing else. According to your faith, so be it to you. Or are you not familiar with these words? So I'm sorry. I'm telling the truth because you're not going anywhere. You are weak-willed, spineless. Look, I've just told you about the same whiners and suicides. But even if the whole world hears me, you know, there will be no fewer suicides. And there will be no fewer whiners. Satan always tells the truth, and you hear it. But you are slaves. That's why he does what he wants with you. And the truth won't save you. Because you are immobilized, self-loving egoists. It's true. And even the fact that some are now offended and indignant, looking at me, it just shows that their demons, who are younger than me, are subordinate to me. And now they're feeding me. And I feel it. Because you are fools and idiots. After all, I'm telling you the truth, and you are. Feed me. Every time you will remember me, and my slave, with whom you are enslaved, will boil up in you. He will take your life and give 90% to me and only keep 10 for himself. And you will feed him. He will take 90% of your life from you and leave only 10 to you. So that you don't die. And they continue to be proud, revel in their dope, enjoy wine. Strive for a rich life, for power. To live in an illusion, not in reality, and to exist for a very short period of time. And right now, those who are outraged are feeding me. And I feel like I'm getting stronger right now. And every time you remember me, you will pay with your life. And try to forget me. Try it. I'm not kidding. You slaves, try to forget your master. And I'll see how you do it. You will be squeaking, indignant, but you will be like a monkey going to the boa constrictor. And here you are just a monkey. And I'm a boa constrictor. What's the use that you can hear me now and understand? After all, there is a demon raging in you, which makes you weaker, and me stronger. Right now you're getting weaker, and I feel myself getting stronger. And that's the point. I'm just calling a spade a spade. Do you know why this bridge connecting death and life is so powerful, so strong, fundamental? Because it consists of you. And every time it is renewed and strengthened. And this process is eternal. The Reaper is already on your doorstep. Do you live in the hope that someone will come and save you? He will come. The one who is stronger than me. And he'll take everything. And everyone. But the strengthening of the bridge, along which only the worthy will pass from death to life. And you will just lie there, look at them and envy. You are used to envy someone all your life, aren't you? So you will be jealous. In centuries. Being a Kefa at the feet of the worthy. It's your choice. Each of you. And being the supporting stones in this bridge, you will be envious of the living, watching the worthy ones walk along you to paradise.